Yeah, there is a really good crossover between the fields of research where we research school change and school effective development more generally, particularly through the school leadership research and the school effectiveness research, who are both specialist areas. One of the things those bodies of research distinguish is the power of community of learners approaches. So, for example, if you want staff to change their practices, they need to do that with other staff, supported by a couple of things: strong moral drivers in the school, effective leadership, opportunities to learn through identifying where they need to change, learning from evidence, trialling things, working together to see how does what we do differently with grade 3 turn out to better practice, and working in a community of learners, so that the kind of community connectedness of school change is as important as the things we do in the classroom, where we try to drive peer-related change, again through community and social learning. So there's a lot of crossover in that area. But there's also another field of research that investigates what we call cascade training. That is when we go and give a whole lot of training to some people who are supposed to train on to others, to others, to others, and it goes down the waterfall. And then the people who are actually going to do it get the less training of all, all right? It's called cascade training. It's a really lousy model. The research says it doesn't work. The people down there at the grassroots level need the most input, and what they get the most benefit from in this field is exactly what we've learned from even the feedback we've had from all the 26 days of training we've just rolled out recently, is they learn best from sampling the learning activities they're actually going to teach. So in other words, the teachers have kind of the same learning needs as the kids, to sit in the learning activities and work out, do the work themselves on their own social emotional competencies and gender attitudes and skills, and then take a step up and go, and then how do we teach effectively about that? So it's almost like the babushka dolls. You know, it's the same pattern all the way out, from the system level right down to the micro level of the classroom. So effective teaching and effective modes of fostering community-based learning are inherent in this social change initiative, is the way I would see it, without giving you 93 lectures that you probably don't want to hear. Okay.
Yeah, just to add to what Helen said, again, I totally agree. But one of the things that we'll be looking closely at in our project is that what you're referring to, Joel, and that's organisational change model, and how that's rolling out and how that's working in schools. For instance, some schools, the lead schools in particular, are further down the track with this work, and some dived in straight away. Some of the others that we're working with have time to be a bit more thoughtful about their engagement with their own staff and with their school community. So, and we can see that that's going to be crucial in how the whole thing works, to have that process to engage and to become, first of all, to understand why we need to do the work, to get the skills to do the work, to practice the skills to do the work, and then to do it together. So that's one of the things we're really keenly looking at. And a whole lot of schools, as you know, are in a whole lot of different spaces there. But that'll form an interesting part of what we're currently doing.
I would suggest the thing we most need to give schools to enable that work with principals and their team, which is their staff, is we have to actually acknowledge this takes time, and that means staffing. It doesn't mean that little top-up grant you get to do some extra work in your school. That does not buy staff time. You need to, unlike every other organisation under the sun, you've got no middle-level managers in schools because they're all teaching all the time. So they can never meet together, so they can never do the talking work of change. So if you actually want to change a workforce in schools, you need to give them some extra staffed time so you can have some of them released from the classroom, a proportion of their day sufficient unto what it takes to lead the change in their school. So that's why when we talk about an education sector needing to do health and community work, it needs to show up in investment in staff time. So otherwise we end up demonising teachers and schools as if somehow their capacity is missing rather than it's under-resourced.